Beep, 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 beep. Hello, how are we doing, people? Welcome to the court of the EDI Jester. Welcome to the Jesterites, Twitterweeds, and people of the Tinterwebs. How are we doing, all right? I'm fresh back from my lunch with the Women's Rights Network. Tremendous stuff, tremendous stuff. Great to talk, great to look at what can be done, how can we get the message out there. It's just always a delight to meet these groups of people, in this case, that happen to be women, and to talk and debate over a good curry. So it was marvelous. We had master tacticians. We had people with intensive experience of the NHS and fighting for rights in the NHS. So people that knew about the NHS, not working in it necessarily, but they knew it, right? And then we had other people who go to every meeting, right, and just take notes and make videos of things, right, what the hell's going on here, and then are engaging on a policy level, which is wonderful, and exuberant supporters with great motivation and marvellous outlooks, and you have all these different combinations of skills and abilities and competences among these people, which always fascinates me, because it's great to see people forming what are effective teams, and how do we move that message forward becomes one of the questions that is asked by the WRM. So it was a tremendous meeting, me being my normally bumptious and devil advocacy nitwit. So I was really pleased by that. So that's the first thing to say. I had a really great day, thank you, and I'm sure you'd be interested to watch the Women's Rights Network in Manchester and see whereabouts they're going to go in the future. So that seemed an appropriate time before I go on to talk about Parkrun. Parkrun! To say to you that there are some more in the Dubras, that there are some more resources in there for you that you may find interesting, particularly if you're new to this fight, that may well help you to form your pattern, your schema, your thinking around this particular issue. And one of those is a new film, Trans Widows Stories, which we've got here, from Vaishnavi Sundar. And I've also put a link to that interview where Vaishnavi talks about her film and how she made it. I think that's a really good introduction. You should watch that. That's in the Dubras. And it's very interesting that Vaishnavi talks about, in the first few minutes of this particular podcast, the importance of language. The importance of language, and particularly the term trans widow. And this ties in with what I've been talking about the clash of the Argos, how important it is that people have their own language for their particular field or discipline of expertise. And I'm really pleased to hear that was being said by Vaishnavi, and that was some 8 months ago before I even mentioned it to you. So that's tremendous news there. This is a film that's going to be called Through the Looking Glass, or is called Through the Looking Glass. So please do explore that. Secondly, Vaishnavi created an excellent documentary some years ago, which was of great help to me during those times, called Dysphoric. So you will also find the link for Dysphoric downstairs in the Dubras, okay? And finally, just to throw another one into the muddle, Gender Ideology by State Media, which is a 13-part series, and a podcast by, what was his name? He was on BBC. I've forgotten, isn't that terrible? Somebody will tell me in the comments. Stephen Nolan. So you can also find that in the comments. But today, what I thought we'd talk about is Parkrun, because this has been quite interesting. And there's an article in Artillery Row by Victoria Smith, which is terribly informative. So let's have a quick look at that and see what they've got to say. Don't tell feminists what our priorities should be. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but there was this ridiculous bloke writing in The Guardian, what they're done, aren't they? What a bunch of tossers. Writing in The Guardian, right, who said, so what? So what if women's sports don't exist? I mean, my God, if you had a scale, like, from misogyny to misandry, this guy's at the end keeping drawing the misogyny line, and he's going, not enough misogyny, keep going, right, what do you think next? So what if all women are in a cage? Go on, keep going, yep, there's a mountain drop over there, he's going to drop off it. Utter lunacy of the first order. I've never seen anything quite like. Somebody talk to this man. Better still, give him a blowjob. Right, that's obviously his problem. That's a wonderful line, isn't it? From Good Morning Vietnam, do you remember? Good Morning Vietnam. When he meets his boss for the first time, Robin Williams, he says that I've never met a man more in dire need of a blowjob in my life. I love it. Right, so Parkrun. What's been happening? The question is asked at the beginning, why do feminists waste time fussing about nonsense such as Parkrun? That's been the question on many people's lips ever since the organisers removed speed records from their website. Last week's decision has widely been seen as a response to female athletes such as Mari Yamauchi, I hope I'm saying that right, and Sharon Davis, protesting the practice of allowing male runners to compete in the female category. Honestly, ladies, it's just a fun run. Except when the male people want to select the female drop-down, then it's a matter of life or death. Removing the records upset some men, which was bad, because sport is really important to men. The original protest, on the other hand, was stupid. Haven't women got better things to worry about than running, like FGM, global femicide, and making sandwiches? This take on the situation was summed up in a tweet from Jolyon Morn, you'll recall, the fox clubbing, kimono-wearing legal woodpecker, right? 1 in 5 women have been sexually assaulted. Half of single mums live in poverty. There is a crisis in mental health for young girls. Baby health visits are in meltdown. If you care about women, there's hardly a shortage of actually useful things to do with your life. Ignorant toad, right? That's us told, I guess. Another one to add to the pantheon of men telling women to STFU, shut the up, about sexism because other men are sexist. Why can't we even get our priorities right? Like most feminists, I'm used to being told by men that we focus on the wrong things. Growing up in a not-so-feminist household in the 80s, I received frequent reminders that men in the UK didn't treat their women as badly as men in other countries. It's great writing, this. So what were we complaining about? The message, delivered, as you may have noticed, with a side order of xenophobia, was that British women were spoilt. The only reason we worried about sexual harassment and equal pay or marital rape was that we didn't have any real problems, unlike women who were being properly oppressed by men who were properly sexist. It's just extraordinary that people write like this. The Jolyon Morn bloke, I mean, not the author. Today's progressive misogynist is unlikely to adopt this particular line of attack. The optics are far too Daily Mail. He is all too familiar with the way in which the right will pretend to care about the plight of women in other cultures in order to pursue its own racist and anti-feminist ends. That's something he'd never do. His version of the pampered, selfish feminist who won't focus on the real issue is, he thinks, an intersectional one. He's viewing it all through the lens of privilege checking and social justice. Any woman who has had enough time on her hands to care about women's female sporting categories just isn't seeing the bigger picture. Women are dying, Karen, and all you can think about are your Parkrun rankings. This is a very important piece, I feel, which has a cultural and mimetic resonance with the conversations that have been taking place about all this in the last week or two, which is this concept that just because you see something as unimportant and somebody else sees it as important doesn't mean that actually it's those small things that can matter, and this is one of them. There is absolutely no reason on God's good given earth that men should be competing against females, especially and essentially when they think they are them. So this is one of those linchpin things, you know, if you imagine it, and it's like sort of nodes with little offshoots, and then all these nodes fit together. This is a node, by the way, right? Getting men out of women's sports is a node, right? Eventually doing away with the pronoun rituals is a node. So we, you know, in some ways, of course, we've got to distinguish between which node people will actually want to go after, but to actually say it doesn't matter. Oh, well, so what if women's sports don't exist? It's just beyond the pale. It shows you how far these people will go to support these paraphilic men. And they should be called out for it. All right, now I'm going to go and do some more videoing after this. Because I'm filled with inspiration after meeting with the Women's Rights Network. So how wonderful of them. Thank you so much for inviting me. I can't believe I had to pick up the bill. I'm kidding. But I'm hoping to see some great work and perhaps do some work and help them out in some of the things they're trying to achieve, which is exactly what we need to do. It's collaboration time, folks. Let's get going and let's get these grubby little men erased from the public square. I shall see you later. All right? Have fun.